Okay, darlings. So we just down to earth, just be normal, be natural, be down to earth, be just treat it like not like a holy thing we're doing. This is so important to treat it like it's our mind. I'm doing the words, but you're going to make them your words, and we're going to be just talking to ourselves. Basically, we're going to be talking to ourselves. That's what this practice is. I feel. There's all sorts of ways you can do it with your bells and your dorjies and your Sanskrit and your business, But my feeling, it's so important to treat it like, I think it was like being your own friend. I'm not trying to be corny. And you end the day, you check your life, you look at your situation, you look at what you've said and done that have harmed others, and you regret it from the depths of your heart because you're sick of suffering. Then to think of anything you've ever done in the past to harm others because you're sick of suffering. You don't want the seeds to ripen. So it's sort of like taking stock of your health, And then you think, well, whom can I turn to? And you put the Buddha above your head and delight that you've got a Buddha to rely upon. And then you have compassion for those you've harmed. And then you do the mantra with real sincere confidence that you're purifying your mind, because your mind, as Lama Zopa says, your mind creates negativity. So you purify it by creating positivity with your mind. We use the Buddha, but we do the work, It's just so important to think. And then you make determination to change. I mean, it's so delicious. We should, and then Lama Yeshe says we can go to bed with a happy mind, Okay. So we just do it according to our ability, according to our pace. Well, I'll lead it, and what makes sense to you, you make it your thoughts, So we'll just start very naturally. The first step, because all the refuge and bodhicitta is all included in the practice. So we just start with the first one, the 4 R's. Regret. So regret, remember, is not I'm a bad person. Regret is this acknowledging that out of our dumbness, out of our stupidity, out of our attachment and aggression and anger and despair and misery, which is why we harm others, we did these dumb things, So the first step is just to think like today, and then maybe this life, particular actions that we've done, first of all, with our body to harm others. So, usually you'd go through the list of the 10 non-virtues. So the first lot, any killing we've done, because that's the heaviest action, with our bodies. That could mean, the fish we consciously killed, the baby. I had an abortion when I was 23. I always think of that one, the baby I decided I would kill. The people, maybe we've been in the army, we've killed people, maybe we've killed the rats and the cockroaches, these kind of things. Sentient beings we've harmed, in particular killing is such a powerful one. So just for a second, contemplate. Anytime to remember, and all the actions we don't remember, because the seed's still gone in. We mightn't remember. You don't remember when you ate that sugar, but it's still done the damage to the body, So the seeds we've planted, we don't remember many, but we recall some. And then the examples of all the other ones we've done that we can't remember, because they've all sown the seeds in the mind, and our seeds are sitting there waiting to ripen as our suffering. And you know what? We do not want suffering. So regret is a kindness to ourselves. So contemplate the killing we've done. Just for a second, think of any examples in your life. Today, yesterday, but in your life. So even 2 or 3 examples we can think of. Even recently, the ants we let go down the sink because we sort of just can't quite be bothered getting them out, Not totally bad, but these actions, be very conscious, we'll be very, have integrity. So any beings we've killed, so we think, those actions I did out of my laziness, out of my attachment, out of my anger, out of my confusion. When I had an abortion, it wasn't out of anger. It just was a strong thought to have the abortion, So we think, I regret having done these actions. And regret isn't, oh, I shouldn't have done it. Regret isn't, oh, I'm a bad person. That's neurotic. Regret is this intelligent view, I did those dumb things. And this is for our own sake first. I did those dumb things out of my ignorance. And I don't want the future suffering, because everything you do and say and think leaves seeds in the mind. You don't want the future suffering. Who wants suffering? Not me. So I regret this from the depths of my heart, because I don't want suffering. I'm sick of suffering. You're talking to yourself, I mean it so sincerely. It's such kindness to yourself. I'm sick of suffering. And then we think of other things we do with our bodies to harm others. Like say, maybe this is based on anger. Killing is mostly based on anger, perhaps on attachment. Then we've got, what they call sexual misconduct, which is basically misusing our body based on our desire, our attachment. Don't feel guilty. We've all got different tendencies, Some of us are junkies for food. Some of us are junkies for bodies. Some of us are junkies for money. Some are junkies for God knows what. We're all junkies in one way or another. Attachment. So here particularly we harm sentient beings. Doesn't always follow we do. Just because you have sex doesn't mean you harm others. That's not harming others. That's increasing your attachment. But like if you rape, or if you misuse people, or you cheat on your partners, this kind of thing, you know, then we regret. We think, I regret this, misusing my body to harm others based on attachment, you know. I regret from the depths of my heart. I don't want future suffering. I don't want to be cheated on. I don't want to be abused. No way. Don't be guilty. This is kindness to ourselves. Because these actions don't define us. They're just tendencies we have. But we're sick of the suffering. And then the other one with our body, you know, is a heavy duty one that harms others, is taking things, the Tibetans call it taking the ungiven. That's the word they use for stealing. It's so direct. Taking the ungiven. That's a tricky one. We just press a button and we download a movie that doesn't belong to us. It's so easy. We don't pay our taxes. We avoid paying our bills. Little tiny things, but we don't think they're stealing. But that's what it is, you know. Because of our fear of not having money, we'd rather not pay bills. So this attitude of just not being very strict with our money, you know. So we regret any time we've taken anything that hasn't belonged, hasn't been offered to us. That's what stealing means. And not paying our bills properly, not paying our taxes, having integrity with our bills and things. What that does is cause us the suffering of not having. It causes us the suffering of not receiving. It causes us the suffering to be stolen from. We know we don't want that. We're sick. We don't want that suffering. So I regret from the depths of my heart anything I've ever done. So we think now, anything we've ever done that we don't remember with our bodies since beginningless time, you know, all these trillions of seeds in our mind waiting to ripen as our suffering. I absolutely do not want further suffering. I am sick of suffering. This is fact for all of us. Think this. And of course, if we've taken vows, we definitely regret having broken these particular vows. No way we want the suffering of that. So then our speech, you know, we clever humans, that's our main problem. We clever humans, you know, there's four there that the Buddha talks about. The one's speaking the untruth, you know. But even that, we're very clever with our words. Even if we don't intend to lie, we're so eager to say something to sound like we know what we're talking about, you know, we end up misleading people. We speculate about so much. So we think anything we've done with our speech that's like a lie or even speculating that misleads people. Of course I regret this. I don't like this happening to me. No way. I regret. Of course I do. I'm sick of suffering. And the harsh speech, you know, abusing people. We don't want to be abused. We can't stand being abused. Or even the karma of people thinking we're being abusive, even if we're not. That's from abusing others in the past. I don't want that suffering. Or being lied to, nothing worse. Can't bear it, you know. Or not being believed. That's the problem with lying. You don't get believed or people lie to you. This is nothing worse. We can't stand that. I regret. Of course I do. I don't want that suffering. And then we've got, you know, just rabbiting on about nothing because we're sort of anxious to speak. We all have a tendency to have to speak, you know. We don't even know what we're saying half the time. And we kind of don't even know whether the person wants to hear it. We couldn't care. All this nonsense coming out of our mouths, you know, about rubbish. Don't want that. Don't want that kind of suffering. The suffering of that is to not be, your words have no power for people. They don't even listen to you. We know how painful that is. You're in a meeting somewhere and no one even listens to what you're saying. It's so painful. That's from just rabbiting on, you know. Idle gossip, meaningless stuff. Don't want that. I regret. And then there's talking bad things behind backs. We love that. It's so favorite because when we're talking behind backs, everybody who is there agrees with us. So we're able to rave on, you know, especially about politicians who almost think it's a virtue. That causes disharmony. That causes people not trusting you. That causes breakups in relationships, in jobs, in organizations, in Dharma centers. We know how painful that is. So we regret all of these actions of our speech from the depths of our heart, because I do not want the future suffering. That's clear. And then whatever I have done since beginning this time with my body, my speech, since beginning this time, all the karmic seeds are there waiting to ripen as my suffering, and I don't want it. This is the first step. Lama Zopa says this is the most important. It's acknowledging these. Then you open the door to go further. If you don't acknowledge what you've done and, feel guilty or neurotic and try to hide it or blame, then you're just stuck with it, This demands such integrity. And it's not guilt, it's self-respect. I do not want the future suffering. So then our mind, the source of it all, the ego grasping that clings to the self-existent me, the craving attachment to get what I want, then the anger, the annoyed, irritated, frustrated, or despair and depression when I don't, and all the other dramas, These I regret from the depths of my heart. I'm sick of this suffering, the crazy mind, Of course I regret. So whom can I turn to? Where's my doctor? Who's the doctor? That's the attitude of the Buddha. Don't be all holy and sing a nice prayer. That's great. But we have this delight. We've got a doctor, We've got the Buddha. Unbelievable. He's the person we rely upon, whose medicine we use. Buddha doesn't purify us. We purify ourselves. We rely upon the doctor. So visualize above our heads this Buddha, this aspect, this tantric aspect of the Buddha, Vajrasattva, this blissful white light body. It's the white aspect of Vajradhara, the main tantric Buddha. And it's particularly related to emptiness, which is the real purification. And then we have a Lama. We think it's our Lama's mind manifesting in this radiant white light body, Bodhisattva style, Vajrasattva, above our crown. Buddha, Guru, Buddha, same, Holding in his left hand a bell, which represents wisdom, and in his right hand, Vajra, which represents compassion, or in Tantra represents bliss. They're crossed at his heart, the union of these two. Radiant light, and be so delighted. This is what refuge means. We rely upon the Buddha. How marvelous. We've got a doctor. We've got the Buddha we can rely upon, the Guru Buddha. How amazing. Above our crown, sitting on sitting on a multicolored lotus in the Bodhisattva style, looking very beautiful, full of love and compassion for us. And the second part of reliance is where we now have compassion for those we've harmed, the people we've abused, killed, lied to, stolen from, harmed, bad-mouthed, all of these, all the sentient beings, not just now we remember, but since beginning this time, all the countless sentient beings we must have harmed. Because it's just the way karma is, it's the way sentient beings are, We have such compassion for them now. We regret for their sake. We know what suffering's like. So we regret for their sake. We must purify for their sake. This is compassion. The first one is compassion for yourself. Don't get confused. Now it's compassion for others. Think of the people, particularly maybe your boyfriend you cheated on, the person you harmed, stole from, lied to, whatever. Think of the people, and then anybody we've ever harmed, all the sentient beings must purify for their sake. So now if we're brave enough, if we can have compassion for those who've harmed us, everybody gets harmed by somebody. It's just karma. It's the way it is. And if we're brave enough, so why would we have compassion for people who harm us? Because first they were harmed by us countless lives ago. And in turn, they will suffer in the future for that harm they've done. So that's the basis of real compassion for others, because they will suffer in the future. So we can do that. The person who's abused us, the parent, let's say, the partner, your friend at work, your colleague, whatever. We've all got some people in our lives who've harmed us. We feel offended by, insulted by. If we can be brave enough to have compassion for them, this is like an atomic bomb under ego, under self-centeredness. It's incredible. Because we're all in the same boat. We're all experiencing the fruits of our past negative actions, and we'll continue to experience those fruits unless we purify them. So we have such compassion for all sentient beings. So now the third step, the remedy. So Lama Zopa says, and this is hard for us to get sometimes because we don't have much faith in our mind. We just think it's only in the mind, but this is the point. The mind is what creates negativity, and the strength of our mind when we do it is the strength of the negativity. So it's the strength of our positive mind that counteracts it. There's nothing further. There's no intrinsic little me in there who's bad. No, it's the mind, have confidence. Lama says the stronger you have the confidence that when we visualize, we really imagine, we really want to purify, we really say the mantra strongly, that is what purifies. As Lama Yeshe says, what purification is the power of your regret, the power of your compassion and refuge, the power of the remedy, and the power of the resolve to change. Your mind is doing it, so have confidence. So we visualize now from Lama Vajrasattva so compassionately sends this kind of radiant kind of hose of nectar, like liquid energy, very powerfully coming from his heart. He's above our head facing the same way. And it arcs around and enters our crown. And then fills us completely and forces out this powerful hose, forcing out all the imprints of all the harm we've ever done since beginningless time with our bodies, disappearing like filthy liquid through the lower parts of our body, disappearing into space. Be so delighted, Really want this, imagine this. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya, Vajrasattva Teno Patita Dido Mebawa, Sutoshayo Mebawa, Suposhayo Mebawa, Anurata Mebawa, Sarvasiddhi Memprayatsa Sawak Karma Sutsa Me, Sitam Triam Kuru Hung, Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan, Sarvatata Gata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabawa, Mahasamaya Sattva Ahung Pe. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya, Vajrasattva Teno Patita Dido Mebawa, Sutoshayo Mebawa, Suposhayo Mebawa, Anurata Mebawa, Sarvasiddhi Memprayatsa Sawakama Sutsame, Siddham Shyam Kuru Hung, Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan, Sarvatata Gata Vajramame Mutsa Vajraba, Mahasamaya Sattva Ahung Pe. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya, Vajrasattva Teno Patita Dido Mebawa, Sutoshayo Mebawa, Suposhayo Mebawa, Anurata Mebawa, Sarvasiddhi Memprayatsa Sawakama Sutsame, Siddham Shyam Kuru Hung, Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan, Sarvatata Gata Vajramame Mutsa Vajraba, Mahasamaya Sattva Ahung Pe. All the negativity of all the killing and the stealing and the lying and the bad mouthing and the raping and the abusing and the all of this disappeared since beginningless time, disappeared into space because they're not intrinsic to our mind. Of course, they can be removed. It's the power of your mind that does it. Be delighted. So now speech. Visualize again Lama Vajrasattva so compassionately sends his radiant hose of nectar that arcs around from his heart, enters our crown, fills us, and this time forces up to the surface, the top part of our body. Just like as Lama Yeshe says, when you turn on a tap in the sink, all the junk in the glass comes to the surface. And it disappears through the top part of our body as filthy liquid, and it's all the imprints of all the harm we've ever done as clever humans. We clever humans do the speech one. Animals made a few loud noises maybe, but we're the clever ones. All this nonsense with our speech that causes so much harm and disharmony and unhappiness, disappearing like filthy liquid into space above our head, full of this powerful nectar, forcing it up and out. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya, Vajrasattva Teno Patita Dido Mebawa, Sutoshayo Mebawa, Suposhayo Mebawa, Anurata Mebawa, Sarvasiddhi Memprayatsa Sawakarma Sutsame, Siddham Shyam Kuru Hung, Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan, Sarvachata Gata Vajramame Mutsa Vajraba, Mahasamaya Sattva Ahung Pe. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya, Vajrasattva Teno Patita Dido Mebawa, Sutoshayo Mebawa, Suposhayo Mebawa, Anurata Mebawa, Sarvasiddhi Memprayatsa Sawakama Sutsame, Siddham Shyam Kuru Hung, Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan, Sarvatata Gata Vajramame Mutsa Vajraba, Mahasamaya Sattva Ahung Pe. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya, Vajrasattva Teno Patita Dido Mebawa, Sutoshayo Mebawa, Suposhayo Mebawa, Anurata Mebawa, Sarvasiddhi Memprayatsa Sawakama Sutsame, Siddham Shyam Kuru Hung, Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan, Sarvatata Gata Vajramame Mutsa Vajraba, Mahasamaya Sattva Ahung Pe. Disappeared into space. All this blissful nectar, our speech purified, cleansed, the rubbish gone. How marvelous. Now the mind. So again, Lama Vajrasattva sends this radiant laser beams of light. And I always say it, but I'm never sure if light can bend. So we pretend it can. These beams of light arcing around from Lord Buddha's, from Shakyam Vajrasattva's heart, Guru Vajrasattva's heart, enters our crown, and instantly, annihilates all the nonsense of the mind. As Lama Yeshe says, the second you turn on a light in the room, the instant the darkness is dispelled. So instantly the ego grasping that causes all the troubles, that clings to the fantasy nonsense me, then the attachment to get what that me wants, then the aversion when it doesn't, and all the other dramas. Instantly annihilated. Can you imagine? The anxiety, the fears, the dramas, the depression, the guilt, the shame, and the rubbish we have drags us down. It's the source of why we do dumb things with our body and speech. Gone instantly, full of this blissful light. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Teno Patita Dita Me Bava Sudoshayo Me Bava Subhashayo Me Bava Anorakta Me Bava Sarvasiri Me Prayatsa Sawa Kama Sutsa Me Sidam Shyam Kuru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tatagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajraba Mahasama Sattva Ahung Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Teno Patita Dita Me Bava Sudoshayo Me Bava Subhashayo Me Bava Anorakta Me Bava Sarvasiri Me Prayatsa Sawa Kama Sutsa Me Sitam Shyam Kuru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tatagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajraba Mahasama Sattva Ahung Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Teno Patita Dita Me Bava Sudoshayo Me Bava Subhashayo Me Bava Anorakta Me Bava Sarvasiri Me Prayasa Savakama Sutsa Me Sitam Shyam Kuru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tatagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajraba Mahasama Sattva Ahung Pe. How amazing, full of this radiant light. Our light. Just imagine your heart light, clear, beyond all the nonsense, free of all the rubbish. Because why? Because it's not intrinsic to us. It's not intrinsic to us. It's not at the core of our being, therefore can be removed. This is amazing. So one more time, to remove even the subtlest imprints, and this is removing what they call the obstacles to omniscience. When it's combined with bodhicitta, we remove even the subtlest imprints, which is when we become a Buddha now, So it always feels so busy, but this is the way the lamas do it. You do all three together, maybe one after the other, as you wish. All the nectar going down and going up, and all the light. Removing even the subtlest imprints, and we become Buddha. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Teno Patita Dita Me Bava Sudoshayo Me Bava Subhashayo Me Bava Anorakta Me Bava Sarvasiri Me Prayatsa Savakama Sutsa Me Siddham Shyam Kuru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tatagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajraba Mahasama Sattva Ahung Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Teno Patita Dita Me Bava Sudoshayo Me Bava Subhashayo Me Bava Anorakta Me Bava Sarvasiri Me Prayatsa Savakama Sutsa Me Siddham Shyam Kuru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tatagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajraba Mahasama Sattva Ahung Pe. That'll do. Now we're Buddha. Imagine how amazing. And now the fourth step, Pabongara says, is the most important, the resolve, the determination to change. So don't just make vague decisions. You be very precise, So if you've taken lay vows, you can reiterate, I will never kill. That programs you. So tomorrow you'll watch like a hawk and you'll catch that ant before you kill it, Then whatever you can say, I will never lie, I will never steal, I will never cheat on my partner, these things. You can say the 5 vows if you have. And if the bodhisattva vows, we know them all, of course we don't. And our tantric vows, all our vows and commitments. But we don't lie to ourselves, as Rinpoche says. We do our very best. But we be precise with ourselves. So maybe there's some vow, even if it's your mind, so maybe you've got a tendency to get depressed easily and you fall into it, Maybe you've got a tendency to cheat, not lie or just something, your mind well. Just make just a couple of minutes, you make your own decisions. And Lama Zopa says, even you can say for 5 minutes, I will not do that. Like you bad mouth your boyfriend all the time. Maybe you can't control your mouth. You say, for 5 minutes, or even you say to the rest of the day, I will not say one bad word. You really determine, and that helps you remember it when the time comes. It's the power of your mind that decides, We have the power. So when we've regretted it, we open the door, then we want to purify, so we have compassion and then do the action, and then we know we don't want future suffering, so we will decide to change. But do it according to your capacity. So speak to yourself for a couple of minutes. Make some decisions. Be reasonable with yourself. And then we imagine Lama Vajrasattva so delighted, treated as something real, not some abstract being, but a Buddha's a real person. Our Lama's a real person. And the Lama's the Buddha's the Lama, that's it. So they're so happy for our mind, like a beloved parent, so happy for us. So they very happily, Vajrasattva so happily dissolves into white light and comes through our crown. And then we imagine that the body, speech, and mind of Vajrasattva, the body, speech, and mind of our Lama merge with our body, speech, and mind. Just imagine this. And for like a minute or two, just kind of imagine expanding as big as the universe. It's vast and clear and radiant. No thoughts. Lama Yeshe would say, zero. And then we just finish with these marvelous, the four immeasurable thoughts, the marvelous attitudes of the Bodhisattva, the courageous attitude of the Bodhisattva, How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings could abide in equanimity, free of attachment, anger, and ignorance. May they abide so. Now, this is the courageous attitude of the Bodhisattva. I will make this happen. That's the attitude of the Bodhisattva. We cultivate that. I will make this happen. Please, Guru Vajrasattva, bless me to be able to do this. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings could be free of suffering and its causes. May they be free. I will make this happen. Please, Guru Vajrasattva, bless me to be able to do this. How wonderful it would be if sentient beings could have happiness of enlightenment. Rinpoche says not ordinary happiness. May they have them, and its causes. May they have them. I will make this happen. Please, Guru Vajrasattva, bless me to be able to do this. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were never parted from higher rebirths and liberations, excellent bliss. May they never be parted. I will make this happen. Please, Guru Vajrasattva, bless me to be able to do this. And now we go to bed with a happy mind. If it's nighttime and if it's morning, then you have a happy day. Must be morning for Steve. So he's in the morning. Those of us at night, now we go to, Lama Yeshe says, now you go to bed with a happy mind. We just cleaned up. And we put it, and Lama Zopa says, we're insane not to do this practice every day because it puts atomic bombs, under these tendencies, under the karmic seeds. So it's sort of like you should feel sad if you don't do it, So wonderful. Be so happy. Good night, precious ones. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are.